Good afternoon again, student. This is the fifth part of the chapter Poverty as Challenge, class 9th, subject Social Science. Student, in the early section of this chapter, we have understood that poverty is multidimensional in nature and it is causing various other problems. Poverty is leading to loss of economic growth or poor economic growth situation. We have also understood that the magnitude of poverty is very high. It is said that in the early part of the chapter we discussed that there is a highest concentration or largest concentration of poverty in the world, and the population 27 crore people lives below poverty line. This number is higher than the population of many countries across the world. Student, various other things are associated. We have discussed the interstate disparity, that situation of poverty is not same. In few states it is more dangerous, it is more alarming, and in some other states there are not some as serious problem as it is existing in the few states like Bihar and Odisha and Uttar Pradesh, etc. Student, after having understood these all uh, things related to the poverty, now we should try to understand that if poverty is such a serious problem, what are the causes of poverty? Therefore, student, I am starting from page number 38. Your heading is causes of poverty. And in your book, it is written that there is not one or two causes. There are many causes of poverty in our country, India. Let us discuss one by one. The very first reason of, and this is the most important reason of our country, India, remaining poor. The first reason is historical reason. Before independence, India was ruled by the British colonial administration, and during British colonial administration, there was a low economic growth. That can be said as a one of the most important reason, student. I hope everybody is aware. In your history book in class 8th, you studied about the nature of British colonial administration, how it was exploitative in nature. You also studied that when British East India Company came in the 1600, there was no intention of ruling us politically. There was no intention of British East India Company to control us politically. But after the Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, they took the political control. And here onwards, they made our systematic exploitation by various means. They have systematically discouraged our industries in the textile so that their mill-made product can be they can be selling across the world, their mill-made product. They have destroyed our traditional handicrafts, so we are not going to bring any challenges. Our product are not going to bring any challenges to their mill-made product in the market. You people must be knowing that during this period of British colonial rule, there was two world war between 1914 to 18 and 1939 to 45, and during this time Britain had to make lot of war expenditure. All war expenditure what Britain made, they had uh, given they had put it as a burden on our people. Means whatever expenditure was made by Britisher, it was taken from the Indian resources. That is one of the reason of our country remaining poor. You can say that the moment India became an independent country, we got this poverty from the British government, British colonial administration over there. Second reason, student, is that between 1950 to 80, first three decade of India's independence, there was a very slow income growth as well as slow growth in the creation of the job opportunity. There was less opportunity in the job, although at the same time you can say there was a high rise of the population. Because of high rise of population and low growth in the job as well as low growth in the income has reduced our per capita income to very low level, and this created the problem of cycle of poverty. Student, cycle of poverty means that because poverty existed, another generation or next generation were also expected to remain poor because they could not have made any effort. They remain in the state of helplessness to come out of the poverty. In the earlier section of this chapter, not in this publication, there was two concepts: vicious circle of poverty and virtuous circle of poverty. Now it has not included in this chapter, but I must be telling you what vicious circle. Vicious means if one person remains poor because of low resources, because of poor control over the resources, and all other help features what we have studied in the early part, they do not find their children attaining a status to get rid of poverty. But if in a virtuous circle, if a one person who is poor make little effort to bring their next generation out of to invest in the education with their children, to invest in the field of health, then it is possible that their next generation may be out of the poverty. But in this chapter it is not required. I was just giving you idea so that you can understand that cycle of poverty was introduced there in the system because of between 1950 to 1980, there was number one reason that poor growth in the job opportunity, poor growth in the income, and high rate of population causing low per capita income. Student, other than this, there was some good factor also. However, green revolution was brought in the 1960, which has increased the earning opportunity. It has created some job opportunity for the landless laborer in the village, but it was limited to some state only: Punjab, Haryana, western part of Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. In other state like Bihar, uh, uh, Odisha, remaining part of Uttar Pradesh, situation remained very bad. Uh, Similar situation was there in the urban area. Industries created various jobs, but these jobs, what was created in the industries, were insufficient compared to the high population pressure and high rate of unemployment existing over there. I hope you must understand that there was one more reason was there, that poverty came from the basically from the rural area. If you remember, we studied in the previous chapter disguise unemployment, where we made our point clear that most of the time what happens, that people living in the village area are working on the same field where such number of people are not required. So many are working unnecessary over there. If they are taken out, the productivity will not get affected. It means you can say that these people are not required on the field to carry on the work. So what we can do, we can take them out. As a result, what happened, that these people, for the sake of some extra earning opportunity for the family, started coming to the cities. And when they came to the cities, it was not possible for them to create job opportunity, or to be that all people could be accommodated coming from the village area. So many of them had to start doing some work like pulling rickshaw in the city, doing a work of a servant in the various house as a maid. Women especially were doing their street vendor, rack picker. These people were having either irregular earning, or they were having very less earning. As a result, what happened, they did not have the housing in the cities. It was not expected, so they started living in the slum area. Slum area made another problem for them. There was no proper sanitation, there was no availability of safe drinking water, so the health issues and various other issues started taking place. This was another reason of India remaining poor, and there was concentration of poor. In the early part of this chapter, we discussed that poor usually live in the surrounding for the poor, and that causes that these people, this becomes a cause that these people who lives in the surrounding for the poor find themselves unable and helpless to get rid of the poverty what they are wanting, but they might not be in a situation to do so. There was various other problem, student. There was high level of inequality in the rural area. You can say that the land distribution was not equal. Hope you remember the story of village Palampur, where we discussed that there was a big landlord like Tejpal Singh, there was small landlord like Savita, and some people were there with the who can be considered as landless, working on the others field. So this itself give an idea that the size of the land holdings to the different people were not equal. Few people had the huge size of land holding, making them very rich, but others were denied to have this luxury. That is why what happened, student, that though government made effort in when country attained independence, some land reforms were introduced by our very first government under the very first 5-year plan, but it did not take place successfully. There was various reasons. Though government made plan to have proper distribution of land, equal distribution of land among the people in the village area, but due to the manpower, due to the muscle power, these rich landlords could get back their land by force or by any other means. That's why poverty still existed in this part. What happened, student? Because of this, there was another problem, that continuously there was some poor people who did not find enough opportunity of job or good earning, started moving towards cities, and then the poverty which was earlier existing in the village area now started transferring to the cities area. Situation became pathetic. These were the causes of poverty, student. Few more can be said. Though government was aware about from the beginning of the when the country got independence, when our country got independence, our government was well aware that poverty has to be removed. Government made various poverty alleviation program to get rid of the poverty, but problem is that there was so many poverty alleviation program that you can say that they were overlapping on each other and there remain confusion. You can understand that in our country during the election time, various governments or various parties, political parties come with promises just to get the vote of the people, but after that they make it as an announcement on the paper, but real implementation of these did not take place. We will go into the details in the coming section of this particular chapter, that is called poverty alleviation program or anti-poverty measures. But here it is good enough for us to know that poverty alleviation program also did not remain very successful. Reason, I told you, it was too many in the numbers, so it made the overlapping of these programs. Second, there was a very poor implementation by the government officials. That is why the benefit of these programs did not go to the needy section of society. Corruption also was one of the reasons. Whatever money was issued for the purpose of bringing the poor people out of the poverty and making their standard of living better and better, that has not taken place. Last reason, student, of this section, that there is some socio-economic and cultural factor, socio-economic factor existing in the Indian society. It has been observed that people in India on certain occasions, like some family functions or like some festivals, they used to spend a lot even when their resources are less. So it means that for spending they borrow the money. You can say that marriage is one of the factor in India, or the childbirth. After that, they are supposed to provide a lavish function to their family, friends and relatives, just to have some social prestige in the society. Because of this, when they borrow the money, they immediately come into the trap situation, that is called debt trap. In the rural area, our farmer for the agriculture production used to borrow the money for purchasing seeds, fertilizer, etc. Student, however, they borrow the money for this purpose that they will be producing good, but you know that India is gamble in monsoon and various other problem exist in the agriculture production, what brings uncertainty. So many time it happens that the money that they borrow, they find themselves unable to repay to the money lender or landlords, and they become they get into the debt trap situation and they become further poor. These are few reasons, student, for our country remaining poor. In the next section, we will discuss that what efforts are being done by the government to remove the poverty from our country, India. Thank you, student.